let's go. Oh. Like you guys. Yes, I'm good. Yeah. I see 1, 2, 3. Fantastic. That's great. Yeah. Okay, so welcome, and let's begin today's meeting and hear our public testimony on non-agenda items. The testimony is limited to 15 minutes per topic, and each speaker will have up to 3 minutes to speak. And I'll just remind you, when you start speaking, the green light will go on. When you have 1 minute left, the yellow light will come on, and when the red light comes on, please wrap up your final comments. And we're going to... So we have Elizabeth Tate and Francisca Salcedo, Howard Singer. So come forward and mention your name and begin.
Right here? Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm Elizabeth Tate, and I'm here on behalf of the Florence Griffith Joyner Youth Foundation. Do I begin speaking now?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay. I'm here because we have a youth track and field team, Flojo International. We've been at Hoover High School since 1992 using the field. So this year we have a new principal, and we have some new guidelines in place that I think are reasonable. Number one, which is okay, but I still want to know if everyone else is practicing the same thing throughout the district. Charging outside groups to use the restrooms and making it part of a requirement of a contract. It can be anywhere from $17.50, and I also represent different youth organizations, $17.50 up to $37 per hour to use the restrooms on San Diego Unified Schools for after-school program for nonprofits. Second of all, every year for the past 22 years, with a fluctuation of some years, we've held our youth track and field meet at Hoover High School. This year, the fees are about the same, $37 an hour. However, they want to impose that we have 3 police officers to work the meet and 3 custodians to work the meet. We have never left that school in a condition worse than what we found it. Matter of fact, we always left it in a better shape than what we found it. We've never had any issues that warranted any kind of police officers or anything of that nature. So I'm wondering where this principal is coming from with these. I've never been consulted prior to this that it was a need to have it, and I was wondering if you were aware of it. And it's something that I want to elaborate further on. Apparently the principal said it's a done deal. So I need to know where to go from here because it's unreasonable. And I don't think it's appropriate for that community. There has been a lot of issues with Hoover and the Talmadge community behind it. The things that I have experienced over the years, my kids gone to Hoover from the 90s on. I've been a member of City Heights community for 40 years. I've always contributed to everything in that community, sat on numerous boards from the redevelopment committee to the housing committee to everything in the community. I don't know where this is coming from or where it's headed. And I need some direction from you all if we're going to be continuing to be partners in the community of City Heights, and for myself as representative and other youth sports councils throughout the city to make this a collaborative effort in which it's going to benefit not only the different organizations, but our children who are dependent upon these organizations to make it in sports that will take them to excel from an academic perspective into an athletic, to higher education, into the wide world of sports. And I have countless athletes that I have personally supported throughout the past 25 years. And I think that's it. I hope to hear from someone. I left a message for Richard Barrera, and I hope to hear from you soon. I appreciate your time, and hopefully I did this in 3 minutes and it was efficient.
Thank you. We'll be directing your concerns to the superintendent.
Thank you.
Okay. We have Francisca Salcedo. Is she here? Also Howard Singer. Okay. If we don't have any further... oh, what did I say? Oh, okay. Okay.
Would you... I don't want to start my time until I'm ready. Superintendent Martin, members of the school board, I'm not a gadfly. But I'd like to say hello to my family. I've been living at 4100 Normal Street for the past month. This is the third time I've spoken to this nice board. But I'm going to direct my comments to the vast public out in television land. School board members and the public are seeing our logo for the first time today. What do we have? We've got arms and hands reaching together. Some are dark-skinned, some are medium-skinned, some are light-skinned. We don't know their religions. We know their races. We don't know their nationalities. But this is what we have in the San Diego Unified School District. Now, President Foster has asked us never to name names, and I respect that, and names will not be mentioned. I'd like to read what a school board member was quoted as saying. Redacted said he believes the parade name is worthy of a public discussion. I believe everyone has the right to celebrate Christmas or any other holiday as they see fit, he said. If you are using taxpayer dollars or taxpayer streets for an event, then it might be appropriate to use a more inclusive name. I also want to let you know that the organization that puts this parade on also accepts public money. Now, I've also been told that if you do the right thing and no longer recommend that San Diego Unified School District public school students no longer participate in events that lack diversity and inclusiveness, equality and tolerance, all items that you teach in the San Diego Unified School District, it will be a breath of fresh air for the San Diego community of La Jolla, because this event doesn't represent the community. All of you know that for 114 years, including today, but basically from 1887 to 1960, when the UC Regents selected La Jolla as the geographic area for the university, the three minorities, African Americans, foreign nationals, and Jews, were barred from living in La Jolla. That all changed because the university needed professors and researchers. But where are we today? Well, a piece of paper changed, but we still have bigotry and racism and a little... Is this my last minute?
Yeah. Just your final comment.
So I'm not asking this item to go on agenda next week, but next week we will ask that the item does go on agenda, and people talk about unintended consequences. It's an issue, but I'd like to know what the unintended consequences would be. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments, and they will be directed to the superintendent. I'd also like to just remind folks that if your name is not on the blue speaker list and any additional or any additional speaker slips, you need to pick up the blue slip at either one of the exits and complete that. Any remaining speakers on non-agenda topics will be heard at the conclusion, and if you need to make a comment during this board meeting, you need to submit that slip. Once the item comes before the board, you will not at that time be able to submit we will not be receiving any additional speaker slips. You need to complete that before. So let's call this meeting to order, and we're going to have the Navy JROTC color guard from Serra High School now present the colors. Please stand.
present. Color.
Allegiance, ready, begin.
Order. Color. Flourish. Ready, cut. Forward. Colors. Mark, time. Turn.
Thank you, and I would like to welcome everyone present and those watching the broadcast to our February 10th, 2015 regular meeting to order with all board members present. I'll just also remind folks again that if you wish to address the board, please fill out the blue slips and the speaker slips and then present it to our board action officer, Cheryl Ward. And then also, per board bylaws 1025, public testimony on agenda items is limited to a maximum of 20 minutes per consent and/or action item, allowing for a maximum of 10 minutes per opposing viewpoint. We heard non-agenda public testimony earlier at 5:05, and you will also have an opportunity to present non-agenda item public testimony at the end of the meeting. We will begin with student presentations with Sherman Academy. I believe that perhaps Trustee Barrera might want to introduce the Sherman Academy.
Right, do we have Eddie Caballero? Is Principal Caballero here? As we know, Sherman Academy is one of our dual language immersion schools in the district, and I would add that Sherman, although one of the older schools in our district, underwent a major physical renovation several years ago and was closed for a couple of years, and the community got together in a very substantial way and organized around the concept of a dual language immersion program. And it was a vision that the community had, believing that students who could master English and retain and become proficient in their native language have a tremendous advantage in a cross-border community like ours, and will be in a position to be the leaders of our community. So the Sherman vision was about creating young people who will be leading this region in the future, and the vision is exciting to see as it's become a reality. So Principal Caballero, if you could introduce who we've got here.
I'm going to defer to our ASB President, Elizabeth Silesa.
Good afternoon, school board members, Superintendent Martin, staff, and community members. My name is Elizabeth Celia Assad, 5th grade student, ASB president at Sherman Academy. I am here today with my fellow Sherman Lions to present our school, Sherman Academy. Our school is located in the historic Sherman Heights neighborhood. It has a rich heritage that spans from the first Sherman School in 1870 to the current school, which was rebuilt in 2008. Our neighborhood is full of beautiful and historic homes and landmarks, and like its surroundings, the student population at Sherman is diverse and showcases a rich cultural heritage.
Hello, I am Noah Carrero, and I would like to talk about Sherman's instructional program. The goal of our program is to prepare students for a 21st century global society. Our students build a strong foundation in English and Spanish language arts. Through our dual immersion program, becoming proficient in 2 languages benefits both academics and communication skills. Biliteracy also benefits future job opportunities. We aim to create well-rounded students who excel in math, social studies, science, technology, media literacy, as well as visual and performing arts. We work to reach high academic standards, core values, and a strong work ethic. We call it the Sherman Way.
Hi, my name is Andrew Gutierrez, and I am a 5th grader at Sherman Academy. At Sherman, we are fortunate to have a visual and performing arts prep class. During my time at Sherman, I have participated in many school musicals and performances. This performance experience has helped build the confidence that allows me to present in front of my classmates, future employees, and the Board of Education. In addition to our wrap-up prep class, we also have our literacy through technology program. Our technology class focuses on the important skills of research, collaboration, and creativity. We are able to learn these skills through project-based learning. Currently, we are learning basic coding skills. This will prepare us for a project later this year where we will be programming robotic balls called spheros.
Another example of our project-based learning are our student video projects. Over the past 4 years, we have received many awards on both county and state level. We have earned 5 Innovative Video and Education Awards, otherwise known as the Ivies. Our school has also won 4 California Student Media Festival Awards. We will be showing you a highlight reel of our award-winning media projects. You may recognize these students, but most importantly, you may recognize me. Viviana Escobedo as part of the award-winning Sherman News. Roll the clip!
Can we go outside?
No, we can't. It's raining cats and dogs.
What? Raining cats and dogs?
My teacher was mean.
You, Amanda, and don't laugh. This is not a joke.
Can you think of another word other than mean? My teacher was demonic.
Amanda, use robust vocabulary.
Next time you eat something, think about it. Is it healthy for you?
Hey, kids, that blue bin says we recycle. Hello, it's for paper only.
That's so wasteful. That could be recycled.
Yeah, but they said, what's the big deal?
Posting mean messages on social networks is one example of cyberbullying. About 75% of kids have visited a website bashing another student.
Good morning, kids. Today we have a new student, Derek.
Got lots of calories. Yeah, calories. Calories.
How manipulative.
Whatever. Talk to the donut.
Like she knows anything. She's a carrot.
She's just a carrot.
REM, rapid eye movement. Your eyes move quickly beneath your eyelids. This is a stage when you dream.
Thank you, Sherman. Yeah.
I see why you won. Okay. They're like, yay. So I'd like to adopt the agenda. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor, vote. Or vote. No. Okay. It's okay. So are there any reportable actions? Andrea? Okay. Administrative assignments, Superintendent Martin.
Thank you, President Foster. I have 3. The Vice Principal for the Language Academy, Aida Hernandez. Principal at Zamorano Elementary, Derek Murchison. And Interim Principal at Walker Elementary, Don Neitzel.
Thank you. And moving on to Superintendent's information report.
Thank you. This past Friday, we launched our 3rd learning cycle. As you know, we have 4 learning cycles for the year, and we just wrapped up the 2nd one, which was collaborative conversations, and launching into our 3rd learning cycle. I want to say it's my favorite, but all 4 of them, there's something really special about each one of them. So this one in particular, we're focusing on our key question across the district is how do we create the learning conditions in every classroom to maximize the potential that lies within the variability of all learners. So we're looking at another way of saying that is how do we invite the genius and create conditions in every single classroom to unlock the genius in all of our students, knowing that there's variability in all learners. And launching that cycle last Friday and teaching our principals about how to lead that from an inquiry stance at every site is the key to each one of our learning cycles, and that we're in a cycle of inquiry and that there aren't specific answers, that we're just telling you this is how you do it. But we launched that 3rd learning cycle right now that focuses on individual learning genius in each student and how we can lead that at our sites. So maximizing potential was a theme. One of the events I went to actually on behalf of Kevin Beiser Beiser wasn't able to attend. The Green Elementary School Gecko Gala, they had a throwback prom, and it was one of their fundraisers, and they actually presented an award to Kevin Beiser. I accepted it on his behalf for his advocacy and support building the new track at the school and some of the other enhancements that have come, district-wide strategies. They're grateful for their librarian, they're grateful for their track, and they recognized him at their fundraiser. And this gala that Green has is their second largest fundraiser and supports 25% of their annual PTA budget. And they use their funds to support their arts, music, PE, and classroom teacher support. So I don't know if you want to say something about it in your report, Mr. Beiser, but it was great to go there and actually found 2 teachers from Central who are parents at Green. I got to reunite with some of the teachers I used to work with. I also attended last Friday afternoon or Friday evening an art show that I encourage everybody to go to. It's still up on display at Bread and Sea Coffee Shop right here in Hillcrest, and it features the New Arrival Center students from Crawford High School. That New Arrival Center began at Crawford in 2008-09 school year, and this particular project, or this particular art show, is called Hello, My Name Is, and it's based on, you can see the tags that are hanging on the clothespin behind the students there. Each student did a watercolor piece of art, and they worked with local artist Lynn Sussholtz, I think is how you say her last name. She worked with the 3 New Arrival Center teachers, and the first tag was students did an introduction to themselves. So hello, my name is, they told about who they are, what their name is, and then the second tag that they made was where they're from, and then where they hope to go in the world and what they hope to do. And so each one of these tags has a tremendous story of our students who are new immigrants, and their story of immigration, their story of entering into the United States and entering into our education system. They have uninterrupted formal education is what we call it, and we are trying to close those gaps and create in the New Arrival Center opportunity for them. And this features something that we're doing with the students, is incorporating artwork for them to tell their story. It was very moving for me to attend this Friday night because, as I said that day, I had spent the day with the principals launching our new learning cycle, which is focusing on unlocking the genius in every student. And when you think about our students who are new arrivals, how much their story matters, and how important it is that we meet students where they are, and that we see their gifts and their background as an asset instead of a deficit, and how we see the assets in our learners and the culture and the experience and where they've come from is where we meet them in our teaching. And it was very moving to have that be the end of the day, where all principals are learning how to do that, and then to see it in action. This particular art show is a prime example of how the teachers at Crawford at this New Arrival Center have worked with a local artist to create this local art installation that completely honors the voice and the background and the gifts that the new immigrant or the students in the New Arrival Center are bringing to our schools. And these 3 boys, this is a little message over to communications. The 3 boys right here, I have their names, but I forgot to write them here. They're in my journal. They recognized me. They said, "We know who you are. We see you on the district website all the time," because I guess there's a banner picture. And I said, "Well, of course." Then I said, "Well, would you like to be on the district website?" And they said, "Yes." So I'm hoping we can put this in the streaming picture because they want to see themselves. So we have pictures of each of the students has their 3 tags, and the artwork is actually for sale. You can buy the tags, and there's a donation bucket at the coffee shop. I want to say thank you to Bread and Sea, the owners of Bread and Sea. We're very excited about having this installation and showing it, and it'll be up all month. And talk about voice and agency, and students who are new to our country have this opportunity to be featured, to be recognized. We took them to Bread and Sea. Most of them had not been there. I was asking them, "Have you ever been to this coffee shop before?" No, it's Hillcrest. They're from Crawford, and they loved being there on a Friday evening, and the community was out. One of the teachers is married to a San Diego police officer. He brought his squad over, so you had police officers talking to the kids, hearing their stories, and that sense of voice and agency was exactly what we're talking about in honoring our students' voices and their variability and making sure we create conditions every day. So I encourage you all to go look at that installation. That'll be up for the rest of the month. Then on Saturday, I attended the Outstanding African American Educators Breakfast. That was at San Diego State. It's the 30th annual. we honored, that's a picture of all the honorees right there, some from our district, some for not. We see Iris Anderson, who's a teacher at Tubman. She's actually retired. Shauna Cordigan was a teacher from Chula Vista School District. Patricia Mann's a teacher at Knox. Charles Small is a teacher at San Diego High Business. Jennifer Porter, a resource teacher at Zamorano. There's a teacher from a private school that we might not know, but Inez Thomas is the Director of Community Outreach from Francis Parker, and then you see Leonard Thompson, who's one of our people advocates in race and human relations from San Diego Unified, and Anita Watson, teacher at Henry High School. This is a gorgeous breakfast. I know Trustee Foster had to split herself between two places because we had a great event going on at Lincoln that I won't steal your thunder on. I'm sure you'll be presenting, but I was representing all of us at the board, and I was actually finding teachers and maybe potential future administrators at that breakfast as well. And then just last night, I attended the San Diego Unified Council PTA Reflections reception. The theme this year is "The World Would Be a Better Place If." And this particular artwork right here, the student, that I don't know if I'm allowed to have my favorite, but the one with the on the left says, "The world would be a better place if we would treat each other, if we would all treat each other the same." And so some of the artwork was graphic media arts. They got awards for dance and written competitions, and some of them are making it to the local level and then maybe up to the state level. But last night we honored the students that had entered and placed at our local level. And of course, at every board report, we continue with our school site visits and the instructional visits with the chief of staff, the area superintendent, so we're continuing to see how is the support going at the schools? Are we seeing impact? Have we provided the right amount of support, and what's happening in our schools? So the last two visits, this cycle of visits that I'm doing currently is making sure that I'm getting around to all of the schools that have new principals. We have lots of new principals in the district, so at Fries Elementary, Rodriguez Elementary, the last board report was a new principal in Point Loma. At each of the schools, I make sure to visit and get to the new principals, and I'm really impressed with the work that I'm seeing. Our principals are leading with a sense of collaboration, working with their community, working with their staffs, and they're so excited to tell the story of where the school has been, where the school currently is, and where they're planning to lead the school. And I hear very much a tone of collaboration, and I listen for feedback on, are they getting the support that they need to lead a community school reform effort that we so much believe in. And hearing the stories told through the principal's point of view helps me know if we're meeting the needs of our community. And then getting into the classrooms, when I can go to a smaller school like Cabrillo, we were able to get into every single classroom and really learn a lot around what's working and what's not working in our schools. So the instructional site visits are key, and they're probably the most important feedback loop that I can have. It's not just classroom visits. I try to stop in different divisions, talk to our classified staff and certificated staff, look certainly at the instructional program, but look at the overall feel of the school and warm and welcoming school environments that are so important to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent Martin. I'm sure there are some board reports. Who'd like to start? Well, we'll start to my left.
I attended the Phi Delta Kappa and the Associated California School Administrators Superintendent Appreciation Dinner.
Oops,
nice to see a lot of folks there. You were there. I saw that.
I was there.
Great event, acknowledging our superintendents throughout the county. And Superintendent Martin was there and well received. I also attended Point Loma and the Mission Bay cluster meetings, including I went to the Barnard PTA and Foundation Board meeting, and then dropped by the PTA Reflections event at Stanley. It was a lot of fun. In addition, I did my usual coffees and conversations about schools on the first week of the month at La Jolla, Bird Rock, Pacific Beach, Point Loma, Ocean Beach, Little Italy, and Linda Vista. So that's the first Saturday, Sunday, and Wednesday of the week. I attended several community events that included the United Negro College Fund at the Jacobs Center. I also was at the Chinese Historical Museum New Year's celebration and at China House New Year's celebration as well. I visited the French American School, which is in La Jolla, and we're looking at ways to partner with them and work with them. An exciting event was attending the 11th annual Teen Iron Chef competition. We had 5 high schools there, and Scripps Ranch walked off, I think, with the prize. But it was well attended and a terrific week for me.
And of course, you got to taste the food, right? Because that's the whole.
You got it.
Okay, just checking. All right. So moving right along, did you?
Yes.
Okay. Trustee Beiser, did you have?
I want to thank Superintendent Cindy Martin for accepting my award in my absence at the Green Elementary School Annual PTA Gala. Thank you for doing that. I wasn't able to attend because I was in Washington, D.C. with President Foster as a delegate for the National School Board Association representing San Diego Unified and California in D.C. Now that the Elementary Secondary Education Act is up for reauthorization this year, it's very important that we're doing everything we can to communicate with our representatives in D.C. Because what they do with this law can help us in our job working with kids and helping kids to succeed, or it can hinder and cost this school district millions of dollars. Fortunately, I was able to get a hold of a member of the House of Representatives on the Education Committee, and we watched the Super Bowl together. I missed the entire first quarter because all he wanted to do was talk about the ESCA reauthorization, which was great. So it was a good Super Bowl. Seeing as how the first quarter was 0-0 anyway, I didn't miss anything.
Thanks for moving that dial, though. That was important.
For the record, that was Congressman Mark Takano.
Thank you, President Foster. So I wanted to call out Jefferson Elementary School in North Park, which has just been doing a fantastic job of creating an academic program and a connection with the community that's actually leading to a significant increase in enrollment from people in the neighborhood. So we know that our Vision 2020 is grounded in the notion of quality schools in every neighborhood. And Jefferson is a school that, if you look back 5 years ago or certainly 10 years ago, people in the neighborhood were making the choice not to send their students to Jefferson and to choice out. Jefferson has followed a story that we saw at McKinley and at Bernie, in that those schools feed into Roosevelt Elementary School, which then feeds into San Diego High School. And of course, San Diego High School has its School of International Studies. Roosevelt Middle School has an IB program. And so McKinley, Bernie, and Jefferson all have IB prep programs. So the idea is that if a student enrolls in elementary school in one of those three schools, they start preparing for the IB program into middle school and then into high school. And so Jefferson was really kind of followed that story of a school that had been under-enrolled now because of the IB program, but I think as importantly because of its connection with the community, has started to pull people into the school. So we're seeing projected for next year a nearly 7% increase in enrollment at Jefferson over last year, and when we look at the district overall as slightly losing enrollment. And in particular, Principal Francisco Morga and the team at Jefferson connected a couple of years ago with a network of preschool-aged parents who live in the community, who started to see a future for their students at the neighborhood school at Jefferson, who actually got some mentorship from families who had made the commitment to attend McKinley at their neighborhood school. And now we're starting to see some of those families enrolling as their students prepare to enter kindergarten next year. So I think the Jefferson story is a story that we want to understand and elevate. That the notion of families making the choice to attend their neighborhood school, it's our vision, but it doesn't happen automatically. It doesn't happen on its own. It happens with a very strong leadership team at a school, connecting with the community, developing innovative strategies. And I would also add that Jefferson has had an outstanding partnership with Lee Dolgoroff in our bond program, and that we've been able to invest in creating attractive frontage for the school and creating a joint use playing field. And so I think it's become an attractive physical environment along with its IB program. So it's a great story about how we can actually build diversity by having families choose to attend their neighborhood school. And I congratulate Francisco Morgan and his team for the improvements in enrollment.
Thank you, Trustee Barrera. So I would just add in terms of my report that I'm pleased to announce that Lincoln's STEAM Middle College, under the STEAM Middle College High School, has had their first career and college fair just this past weekend. And so there were over 30 partners, 30 colleges and partners that were there to meet, greet families, talk about opportunities, scholarship opportunities, and connect with colleges as well as other supports for our students. And that's exciting because this is what we're talking about with community, school, and home partnerships. And I say home because another special thing happened. There were alumni from Lincoln High School that have come back as parent leaders, having workshops to talk to current parents about what it takes and what it looks like to support your child to get from high school to college and to career. And so that's kind of powerful when folks come back and invest in their high school and partner with administrators, teachers, in the whole school community. And that's what we're talking about when you hear us say so often this collective impact, when we work together on a common goal to move our students forward and be successful in career and college. So I'm really proud about that. Also, we had a very rich conversation at the Blueprint Task Force meeting, which was last night, and it's the blueprint for the acceleration of African American students. And so the conversation is not a new one, because in our last board meeting we talked about our gifted and talented program, and what we discovered with the data, which I think is very courageous to dig deep in terms of presenting the data where we are with gifted and talented education and serving the whole district. What was revealed in the data is that we didn't have a pathway in the Hoover and Lincoln cluster areas. So that was presented to the task force, that data, and we had a conversation again with community organizations, with parents, with teachers, with students present about what this looks like, where we are, just being honest, and where we need to be together. And there was a commitment at our last board meeting in terms of this is unacceptable not to have this offering to serve kids in terms of gifted and talented education. And so we're clear on that. By fall, we need to make sure that there's a pathway, and we also need to nurture that. So that conversation occurred last night, and I'm just really proud of and very encouraged by the conversations that not only are we having at this board, but the conversations and the collaboration that we're having with our stakeholders in the community to make this happen. So that's my report, and thank you. And moving right along, we're going to have, at this time, we're going to hear from our ASB representatives, and we'd like for you to introduce yourselves and also talk to us about what's going on at your schools, tell us about what's going on with you both academically and socially. And we'll start with our chair of chairs, ASB president.
Thank you. Okay, so at my school, we just finished Battle of the Majors, and it was very successful. And basically Battle of the Majors is when different majors go against each other, and they come together and they have fun while doing it. It's friendly competition. And then at the end of the month, we are having a celebration recognizing Black History Month. And our next show starts February 26th, And this show is called Blues for Mr. Charles, and this tells the riveting story of Emmett Till, and it's going to be very powerful and amazing, and it's one show you're not going to want to miss.
And when did you say that starts at SCPA?
Yes, this show starts at SCPA February 26th, and it runs for 2 weeks.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Amanda Pence, and I'm from University City High School. So far, my ASB, right now we're working on ASB Ball, which is February 21st. It is a carnival theme, and we just started selling tickets last week. Speaking of dances, my advisor would like to bring up the fact that it's a challenge to get the added consultant paperwork in ahead of the time for the board to approve, because we don't know the theme of our dance 8 weeks in advance. So also the cutoff amount should be higher. For example, we need an approval for a $150 clown. We just feel like more schools are challenged.
Take care of that business right now.
We just feel like more schools are challenged by this, so we just wanted to mention something. Other than that, we were chosen to be in the top 5 for Battle of the Fans. So we have a basketball game on Thursday night, and KUSI is going to be there and filming our fans. So we're trying to advertise that game and get students to attend, and it's going to be an American theme, so it should be really fun. And then we're currently doing the Teens for Jeans drive, and we just had our blood drive last week, and then we're working on pastas for pennies next.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I just forgot to do my ASB President's Report.
Okay.
Okay. So tomorrow, February 11th, we are meeting to prepare and finalize for our Student Congress meeting, which will be February 18th, here from 3 to 5, and it's going to be great, and that's something you wouldn't want to miss, too. So that's all.
February 18th. Okay. And then the game on Thursday at UC is at what time?
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock. Okay, because that's the Battle of the Fans.
Yeah.
I'd like to see what that looks like.
It'll be fun. It'll be
Sounds
fun.
like it. And your concerns have been well documented because it's on the public broadcast and all that. Okay, so that was good.
Awesome.
Okay. A free. You said he's volunteering? Oh, you didn't say it. Okay, I'm hearing things. Okay, moving on to E2, Title I funds. The proposed 2015 summer school program and extended school year. First, do I have a motion on this?
So moved.
Okay, and take it away, Superintendent Martin.
Thank you, President Foster. This is to move forward with our plans for summer school in the summer coming up. We're focusing on 9th through 12th grade credit recovery for students receiving a D or F in a core subject area. And the proposal here is looking at our Title I funds. We brought this to the DAC at the December meeting, have an ongoing conversation about the importance of summer school, and we would like to expand, but this is what we're able to offer this summer. We're contemplating Claremont High School, Crawford, Hoover, Kearney, Lincoln, SCPA, and Sarah as the sites for the 9th through 12th grade credit recovery summer school. I would like to point out that we did consider Morse High School as a location for our summer school. However, they're undergoing construction, and it wouldn't be conducive to learning to be having a summer school there. So we looked at what would be another appropriate place for students to be able, from Morse, to be able to attend and have the opportunity for credit recovery, and SCPA is a location that would work for them. So we've added SCPA to the list in place of Morse for a geographic location that would work for those students. We're estimating about 5,000 students will attend summer school this summer. That's higher. In 2013, we had about 4,200 students attend. 2014, we had about 4,100 students attend. So this is an increase, allowing for about 5,000 students to attend. Also in this item tonight is funding a one-day 9th grade bridging program for all 9th graders coming in the transition from middle school to high school, and that would be offered at every single high school, that 9th grade bridging program. We're also in this item talked about the extended school year that we're required to provide for students with disabilities, and we have a draft of the schools where we think we would be providing the elementary and middle school summer option for students for their extended school year IEP requirement. Right now, and these might change, they're in draft, but we're looking at Alcott, Central, Juarez, Kimbrough, Lindbergh, Schweitzer, Mason, Whitman, Zamorano as the sites for elementary, and the sites for middle school being Mann, Roosevelt, and Montgomery. When we make these decisions, we make them with the area superintendents, with facilities, with maintenance, with the principal. There's lots of different departments needing to talk to each other about the best location, also considering where the 9th through 12th grade summer school programs are and looking at some alignment there. So there might be some adjustments, but we wanted to at least have the draft. The 9th through 12th grade summer school will be June 22nd through July 31st, and the ESY summer school dates are July 23rd through August 19th. So that's the update on where we're on the approval to move forward. We want to begin staffing and getting our program ready for the summer.
Thank you. Are there any board comments or questions?
I'm assuming that there may be part of the uptick, or maybe you're adding more capacity, but I'm assuming more students from the class of 2016 are going to be in summer school, with being the first class meeting the A to G requirements.
And we want to make sure we're providing the support. When there's pressure, there needs to be support, and we want to make sure we have enough access to the students that need to make up those classes.
Superintendent Martin and I have had a conversation about, as we think about moving forward with converting current year-round schools to traditional calendar schools, and I would say particularly in District E and District D, we're going to need to have a strategy to have quality summer programs available for students in those schools. And I think there's an opportunity to look at the DEEP program that we've modeled for the past couple of years with Choice Meet and the Earth Lab and different community partners as an opportunity that when we think about quality summer programming for students, DEEP is about a quality academic program, but it's also about community partnerships. And so I think we can look to the City of San Diego. I think we can look to different community partners to work with, but developing a strategy so that we don't have, you know, a 11-week period where students are losing the progress that they've made over the academic year. So it's something that I know it's not part of this proposal tonight, but something important for us to think about as we move forward.
Absolutely, and this proposal is certainly the programs that we're continuing, and it's not the only summer school offerings. It's this particular item for this dollar amount, but we do have the DEEP program that we're actually going to experiment with replicating, because we've seen success. We've seen it's a professional development model for the teachers. It's a very viable learning model for the students. After 2 years at Choice Mead, we're ready to, every time I talk about the strategies that we do, need to be sustainable, scalable, replicable. So we found something that works. Tremendous community engagement around that DEEP program at Choice Mead with fabulous leadership, the principal at the school and the community partners. We're going to replicate now to one other school, maybe two. I know you'd like to see 2 or 3 others, but we want to, if we take to scale too quickly and we don't see the efficacy, that's a problem. But we believe that that model is something that we could take to scale, so we're going to work on the replication. And then, as you said, Trustee Barrera, that when we want to expand summer school to possibly all of the schools that would need it at the elementary level, we have a model that actually works, and we're growing it slowly as sort of a proving ground, a proof of concept. And we're using different dollars, and it's a different item than this particular one, but there are other summer school options. Sometimes what principals are able to do when we offer, for example, the extended school year through our special education at some elementary sites, some principals add on, because the school is already open through extended school year program, they can add on a few more classes, we want to look at is their impact with those as well, and what kind of support can we provide to make sure we have summer learning opportunities. We believe in learning year-round. Just because we're making a change to no more year-round schools doesn't mean we don't believe year-round learning isn't important. So what would that 6 weeks look like when a school goes from year-round to traditional? What kind of quality program can we offer, and what are the models that work?
So I'd like to thank you for bringing that up, because the Diamond Educational Excellence program, that kind of grew in District E with more than 20 partners, and the research that went into that program far before we implemented it just is a really good best practice, and the fact that we've sustained it and grown it for the last 2 years, and now it's being embraced as a model that we can replicate and kind of take to scale, especially with the need during going to the traditional and knowing the research in terms of the summer learning loss that could occur. This is a good being proactive intervention program. And I also just want, since I can, mention that when we were talking about the GATE program before, I just want to make clear that we're looking at those very effective instructional strategies, and we believe as a board that what is good for GATE is good for all students. So really where we're moving to is making sure that we put the systems and structures in place to make sure that all students are being exposed and elevated through those strategies. So I just wanted to look to that. But if there are no further comments or questions, let's go ahead and vote, please. Okay, that passes 5-0. And moving on to F1, approval of the minutes.
I'll move the board consent agenda item F1 through F3.
Thank you. Okay, good. Can we go ahead and take a vote? Okay. That passes unanimously. On to G1, appointment and reappointments of representatives to Proposition S and Z from the Independent Citizens Oversight Committee, the ICOC.
I'll move item G1.
Second.
Superintendent Martin.
Oh, thank you. This is to approve the appointment of Betsy Mueller from the PTA to hold the PTA position on the ICOC. We thank Barbara Flannery, right, for her service. Make sure I have the name. And she's no longer able to continue in that role, so Betsy Mueller will be continuing as a representative from PTA. And then that's a new appointment, and then continue with the reappointments of Andy Berg from the National Electrical Contractors Association, Michael Magalenas from the Middle Class Taxpayers Association, and Matt Kritz from the San Diego Building and Construction Trades Council as continuing in their role on the ICOC.
All right. If there are no board questions or comments, let's go ahead and vote. That passes unanimously. Moving on to G2, third amended and restated bylaws of the Proposition S and Z ICOC Committee. Superintendent Martin.
I'll move item G2.
I'll second. Okay, thank you. Superintendent Martin.
Thank you, President Foster. This is an amendment to the bylaws, which is changing the membership of the ICOC. There were two positions that have never really been filled, although we created a large ICOC, largest in the state, reducing it to 11 from the 13 that we currently had. It still keeps our ICOC as larger than any of the other ones, at least that's what we've been told in the state. And so there's two particular positions that we're just going to amend our bylaws to remove. Mr. Delgroff, did you want to say who the vacancies from AIA and CFMA?
Yeah, as you may recall that when we reported back on December 2nd, Andy Berg was here, and he noted that we've had difficulty. We've tried to reach them via phone, email, U.S. mail, and even making contact, but not necessarily getting any nominations from the Construction Financial Management Association and the American Institute of Architects. So when Andy came and spoke to the board on December 2nd, he requested that we look at this, and Board Member Barrera asked staff to bring back a recommendation, and that's our recommendation, is to amend the bylaws to reduce the number of seats by 2, still complies with Prop 39, and it also allows for all the members to serve on a subcommittee with 11 members in 3 subcommittees.
Mostly I needed him to come up to remind me what AIA stood for and CV. I couldn't remember what those acronyms stood for, so thank you, Mr. Delgaroff.
If there are no other board member questions or comments, please vote. That 2 passes unanimously. G4 is moved to, and then G3, resolution in the matter of support to remove the annual testing requirement from the Elementary and Secondary Education Act, ESEA, and make other modifications as Congress considers reauthorization of ESEA. Okay, and then we have a speaker. Can I have a motion? Trustee Beiser.
I'll move the resolution with guidance to Congress from the board. One part that I would like to highlight is the first, therefore be it resolved, to eliminate the federally mandated annual testing requirement in each of the grades 3 through 9, and at least once in grade 9 through 12. Promote multiple forms of evidence for student learning and school quality and accountability, and not use student test scores in evaluating educators.
Do I have a second to the amendment? Thank you. Okay, so let's continue with that. Would you like to make any additional comments?
I think that says it all.
Okay, all right. I concur, being that we are bringing this forward. Do we have any further board comments? No? Okay, let's vote. Oh, I'm sorry. We do have a, I'm sorry, Lindsay. Probably wondering, is this a pattern?
Well, I'm Lindsay Birmingham, president of SDEA. I'm glad to be here to speak on something positively, and that I truly support the steps that you guys are taking. As many of you know, this summer at the National Education Association Conference, the National Education Association Representative Assembly voted to pass a pretty much resolution similar to this, went a little deeper, to end toxic testing. The focus of assessments and accountability should be back on student learning, and not the test, blame, and punish system that has been dominated public education the past few years. NEA's campaign, similar to yours, seeks to end the abuse and overuse of high-stakes testing and reduce the amount of student and instructional time consumed by them. So it's not just the high-stakes test at the end of the year, it's the time, the hours and days that teachers are spending not only giving the tests, but preparing students for tests. More tests than any of us could ever imagine are going on, and every single time one of those tests is given, it's taking away from the valuable learning and instructional time that our students need. This resolution comes at a time when parents around the country, as you've seen in the news and the media, are fed up with the testing obsession as well, and the opt-out movement is spreading across the country and now within California. The kids are the ones that pay the price as more time is taken for teaching to give tests and prepare for tests. Our students are much more than a test. When Secretary Arne Duncan was here a few months ago, he mentioned the idea of a holistic approach to accountability. He's now gone back to Washington and completely forgotten that statement he made to both the superintendent and I when we were there. Our students are much more than a test. They are much more than one score on one day, and we need to look at their whole being and not just that test. So really my hope for you is that this resolution becomes more than just a piece of paper, that we take a deep look not only at the high stakes tests, those end of the year tests, but the tests that we are giving our students every single day, and the amount of testing that's done in our district. At the bargaining table back a few months back, Keisha Borden, who's one of our members, shared at that table the amount of tests that she had to give within her classroom in just the first few months of the year. I think it was even the first few weeks of the year. It was astonishing to me. And it really seems to be that in some of our higher need areas, some of our lower performing schools, what's happening, instead of instructional supports being put in place, they're just having to give more tests and take more tests to get more numbers associated with how they're doing, instead of really the focus being on instruction. So again, thank you for the resolution, and I hope that we'll be able to really put this resolution into action.
Superintendent Martin.
Thank you, President Foster. So this resolution is goes along with our response as a district to the proposed reauthorization of ESEA. We think this is very, very significant change that's now being contemplated at the federal level, and I want to say thank you to Martha Alvarez, our Director of Government Relations, for helping us to provide feedback. And things are happening very quickly, and certainly the centerpiece of this resolution that you're bringing forward tonight is about the overtesting and the annual testing requirement that this board in 2009 committed to, something beyond children being more than a test score. You've led from that stance. You've talked about multiple measures. You've talked about quality schools in every neighborhood are based on 12 criteria. What makes a school quality? It's not just a single test score, the API score on the paper. There's other things that we value: the access to the broad and challenging curriculum, professional quality teaching, quality leadership, digital learning for all, closing the achievement gap. We have our indicators, and our indicators go so much further beyond the notion of a test score. Let me be clear that it's not that we don't understand the importance of a valid way to look at and describe to the public how our schools are doing, but an over-reliance and calling out one number for one student every single year, is that really what we need to be doing in order to know how our schools are doing, and what are these other indicators that we've committed to through our local control accountability plan? We've identified indicators that matter, that we've all agreed on, and we present those every month at the board meeting, and it goes beyond a score. It goes beyond culture and climate. It addresses culture and climate even at a school as one of our quality school indicators. I want to mention too that this resolution, while focused on the testing, there are other parts of the draft legislation that we're interested in and that we've weighed in on, including the funding freeze. We're asking Congress to remove the funding freeze for the reauthorization of the ESEA programs, because we think that would severely cut the services over the next 6 years. So we're weighing in on that. We're also asking that they reinstate the current maintenance of effort requirement in ESEA that protects the integrity and benefits of our ESEA program. So besides the testing as a major part that we're weighing in on this draft, there's other areas that we think are critically important, and we want to continue having San Diego Unified have a very loud role in articulating what we think should happen in this reauthorization as one of the largest districts in the nation, and we are continuing our advocacy on that part, and I want to thank Martha for making sure that we have consistent, clear messaging to our stakeholders and specifically to the lawmakers that are looking at this. It's high time for it to be looked at. So thanks for bringing it forward to the trustees and highlighting what we need to focus on.
I just wanted to add a comment to this. I mean, we have been talking about this for a long time. I remember in 2009 we actually had an item on the board where we were calling for a reduction in standardized testing, and we certainly recognize the value of regular testing of students and seeing how they're doing. But the whole purpose is to help the student. And these test scores, you have these standardized tests, and even as a group it doesn't help, because then you get the scores back months later. It's not diagnostic. It's not helpful in terms of improving learning. And the other thing is, within this resolution, is the whole issue of local control and flexibility. And we've achieved this concept here in California that the state can provide the money for the schools, and the local school districts should really decide best how to flexibly spend that money. And that's basically what we're asking from the federal government to do the same. And I think that sort of the irony of at this point in time is with, a Congress that's been gridlocked for a long time and now a Democratic administration, a Republican Congress, it's actually a chance where it might happen, because they're not going to move on a lot of other things, but this is an area where there might be some bipartisan support in terms of moving forward on this and moving away from some of the issues that we faced in the last few years with the current administration, including all of the competitive grants and everything that have taken money away from a lot of schools. So this is pretty amazing that it's coming at this point. It's pretty exciting.
And I just wanted to just thank the board and superintendent with your leadership on this, because we have been looking at multiple measures, and that's so important, because when you hear the high stakes testing, it's placing a lot of emphasis on one test when there's many different ways to measure student achievement and this continuous improvement. We're talking about daily, not just one time a year. So I want to thank you for your leadership, and then also just the opportunity to get away from something else you may hear about a lot, which is program improvement and schools continuously trying to get out of program improvement, this category that suggests that our schools are failing. And there could be many subgroups in a school, and just because one subgroup is not making progress, it appears, by this high stakes test, then each year it makes it more challenging to get out of this status. And so this is really a significant way to actually get to the change that we need to see so that all students can succeed, about the multiple measures and incorporating far more research. So again, I'd like to thank the board for your leadership and our superintendent for your leadership on making sure that education, public education, works for all students.
I just want to say one more thing when you mentioned 2014. 2014 was the time period from 2002 to 2014 when all of the schools were supposed to have achieved this glorious goal, but it's actually the point at which virtually all the schools in the United States were listed as failing schools, and the only ones that weren't usually in our district were the ones that were not even classified under that system because they weren't part of Title I. So I think it's sort of interesting that the year after that is when we're finally saying, okay, let's find a system that rewards improvement and doesn't have a punitive approach.
Mm-hmm. Very good point. So with that, can we please vote? Thank you, and that passes unanimously. Maya?
Oops,
I
pressed
pressed
the wrong button.
Can we have a do-over? Okay, please vote. Thank you. That's the way it should look, unanimous. All right, so moving right along, G6, implementation of logistical plan for quality schools in every neighborhood.
I move this item.
Have a second? Okay. And Trustee Evans, would you like to introduce this?
Sure. We've had a couple of 90-day reports recently, and this one is about the logistics of moving to quality schools in every neighborhood, and this fits with what Trustee Barrera was talking about earlier in terms of Jefferson Elementary and the improvements they've made in terms of the academic quality and recruiting students into the neighborhood. And when we have the choice program, I think the comment the superintendent commonly makes is that we want parents to be able to choose to go to the neighborhood school. We're not forcing anybody back into the neighborhood school, but we want to make sure that they have a quality choice in their own neighborhood. And this is a big, complicated jigsaw puzzles, because there's more, first of all, as they improve the academics and the environment at each school, and as that's done, where the students are living and where the schools are located does not perfectly match up in San Diego with so many students traveling across the district. So we have to have a logistical plan in place at the same time related to transportation, related to school choice, the facilities. All of these different factors have to be brought together. And so on this board item is listed below actually an item from March 2011, so actually 4 years ago, when we set out to develop a model master plan. And we actually have made very slight adjustments in all these things. We've made some slight adjustments in transportation and facilities and fine-tuning the academic programs and a couple of other things. Definitely more K-12 articulation with an emphasis on the schools in the cluster working together. And also, as Trustee Barrera pointed out, in Jefferson and some other schools, actually moving to a neighborhood school can increase diversity, even though the original intention of the magnet schools and so forth was to increase integration, that things have changed a lot over the last few decades. So the point of this item today is basically because the superintendent appointed a director of facilities planning and design to oversee all of this, both from an academic and a operational viewpoint, because we can have these two sides of the house not working together, but someone who really understands both, who was hired October 28th. Obviously, she had to finish up her other assignment for a while and just getting started the first of this year. So we're asking that within 90 days we can have our first report where we can sit down and go over exactly what's happening in all of this, because this is a long plan between now and 2020 as far as how we're going to get to where we are headed.
I would just add that it's real important, because when you look at the master plan, you have the opportunity with the data to see where there are gaps in offerings. So it's an integrated approach to make sure that we're addressing the whole educational experience of children in that entire cluster area. So it's very important. I look forward to the report. So if there are no other questions or comments, can we have a vote? Thank you. That passes unanimously. And
get to work.
I think that she would probably argue she's been to work.
I know,
all
she
over
has.
the city.
This is after the fact.
Yes, so let's move on to H1, propositions S and Z financial and performance audit reports for the fiscal year 2013-14. Martin and
I'll ask Mr. Dolgaroff and Christy White and Associates. You can come up here, if we pull in another chair. Staff up here, you can come up too if you want. This is our external independent auditors, Christy White and Associates, to present the findings of the audit from Prop S and Prop Z. Christy, go ahead and go up with Mr. Dolgaroff, that's fine. The building funds audit, and they're here to answer questions, but before they do their presentation or let you know the report, I want to point out that for the 6th consecutive year, the district's capital bond program received the highest opinion that auditors can offer for both our financial and performance audits, and to have no adverse findings is an achievement for a bond program. For the size, the complexity of our very large bond program, the size of it, to have no findings is quite an accomplishment. So I don't want that to go unnoticed. So I know you'll add more detail to it, but Mr. Dolgaroff, you should be very proud of the work you're doing, and we're looking forward to the report tonight.
Thank you, Superintendent Martin, members of the board. The financial and performance audits for Proposition S and Z building funds were presented to the Citizens Oversight Committee on January 22nd. And this is Heather Dowd of Christy White and Associates, and she's here to present the audits to the Board of Education and answer any questions.
Okay. Again, thank you for having me here tonight. I've had the pleasure of auditing the Prop S program since it was passed, actually. So I've seen the struggles and I've seen the improvements, and now we're here with no audit findings in either report. So that's great. Wow. Again, so there's just want to put that out there again. What I'm going to do is I'm going to first go into the financial audit. So there's two audits we do. We do a financial audit and a performance audit. The financial audit, the most important, two parts are on page 2. As you guys discussed, we kind of highlighted there's actually 7 required board members, or ICOC members, per ed code. So it just kind of highlights what ed code sections they belong to. I know you guys passed early to remove 2. You guys are always actively seeking, and you do have a pretty active ICOC committee, and you should be commended for that. They meet regularly, the subcommittees meet regularly, and there are minutes, and they're very active again. So we mentioned that. The next piece is page 4. And then this is, the auditor's opinion, right? The most important part of the auditor's report for the auditor. Third paragraph. In our opinion, the financial statements referred to above are presented fairly in all material respects. That means that the numbers presented to you, we believe, are material and presented fairly in all material respects with the generally accepted accounting principles. If there was a number we disagreed with or the district didn't make an adjustment we asked them to, what you'd see here is a different opinion. So you received an unmodified opinion, the best opinion you can get. But again, if there was something we disagreed with, you'd see an explanatory paragraph and a different opinion after that. Okay? I'm not going to go into the detail of the financials. Basically, it goes through, this is historical information for you at this point. We do present the detail of the types of bonds you've issued on page 16, 15, and 16. This is something your ICOC has requested and we put in the report. I think it makes it very transparent, and it was a great recommendation. And then I'm going to take you to the best part, is the findings and recommendation. It's kind of an odd thing to say, right? But I do want to point out there was a finding last year in the area of accounts payable. And I do want to give the finance department and the facilities department for taking that finding seriously and working within a short period of time to remedy the issues with accounts payable. And just to recap, the issues were related to timing. The books closed for accounts payable earlier. Facilities was getting the information later, and thus resulting in understatement of your accrual, and they worked together to remedy that situation, and I can say that we didn't have any issues this year. Material issues. Anyway. Okay. Does anyone have any questions on the financial portion? Okay. The second is the performance audit report. And just as a reminder, the scope identified in the performance audit report is a result of a few factors. It's the result of the board, the ICOC, the auditors, and management coming together and kind of ironing out the type of scope items in addition to what's required per Prop 39. There's only 2 things that were added this year, and those were to kind of monitor what the charters were doing. And it's still fairly new. At the time of this audit, the charters had just started their process, so we just documented, in addition, making sure the funds were spent correctly. And the second piece was the PPO involvement, because now PPO is involved, and we wanted to monitor their activities. We chose to add those. No one asked us. That was kind of an auditor judgment choice. So we added those 2 to the scope. Again, we have a minor recommendation, and it's just that PPO kind of streamline the process along with facilities, which they're working on. But otherwise, we have no findings, and again, an unmodified opinion of the performance area. I would be happy to answer any questions, but I didn't want to go into great detail because the report is pretty lengthy.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Well, just thank you, President Fossil. I just want to thank Heather and of course, Lee and our finance team and under Superintendent Martin's leadership. And a very big thanks to Andy Berg and the ICOC for working so closely with us. It couldn't be more important that when the taxpayers make the choice to invest in the renovation of our schools, which they've done now twice in 2008 and again in 2012 in a short period of time. And taxpayers are making a sacrifice, and they made a sacrifice to raise their own taxes during a time of, during an economic downturn, to make sure that we had the resources that we needed to have quality conditions in our schools. That when the taxpayers make that kind of an investment, they need to have confidence that we're going to manage our program well, and that we're going to be transparent about the way that we manage our program. And so it's not only important that that we're doing well in the management of this program, it creates an opportunity for us to go back to, or for future school boards and in the district in the future to go back to the taxpayers when we have a need and to ask people to make a sacrifice for the sake of our kids. So thank you for what you're doing now, and thank you for the opportunity that it creates for our students in the future.
So thank you again, ditto. That's so important. And I think that it also, and thank you for your leadership, Superintendent Martin, I think that it also speaks to this word that I'm sure will just wear out when we talk about collective impact and the makeup of our committees working together so that that voice and that input is at the front. And then you see what type of outcome we get. So that's important. So thank you again for your leadership. And that sums that up. Can we vote?
I want the public to know that we're talking about $5 billion here. I mean, it's a lot of money, and it's a lot of trust that the public has placed into the school district, and to be able to spend that money wisely, effectively, and over time has taken a tremendous amount of work with tremendous leadership. I've attended some of the Citizens Oversight Committee. I've seen how they work, and we work with our little project.
It's also overnight. It's both.
It feels like it, huh? But I guess just to keep it short, people need to acknowledge the incredible work that's being done, and the trust that the public has put into our schools has been well rewarded, and I want to thank you.
Thank you. I think that sums it up nicely. So are there any other board questions or comments? No? Okay, let's vote. That passes unanimously. Thank you. If there are no other speakers for non-agenda public comments at the end, and if I have not...
Superintendent's consent agenda.
I'll move the consent agenda.
I'll second the superintendent's consent agenda.
Okay. Can we please vote? Okay. Now, there are none. Okay. Oh, okay. If I can find them.
Francisco Salcedo and Howard. No, wait.
I think everyone.
They spoke.
Yeah, they all spoke. Yeah. So everyone's. Oh, is Francesca Salcedo present? No? Okay, so then we don't have any other further non-agenda public comments. So that adjourns our meeting for tonight.
New record.